Hello, good evening, and welcome. It is Monday night in the United Kingdom. My name is Theo Vendor. I'm the executive producer of Time of the Sixth Sun. In the window below is Nikki Luna Williams, who's the writer, director, producer of this amazing movie and 8-part documentary series. And we're super excited to have with us Estas Tonne from joining us from Austria. Estas, good evening.
Good evening, dear ones. Hello, everybody.
Hey, BT.
So lovely to have you with us, Estas. Thank you so much for joining us. And Nikki, I'm just going to bring up Estas's slide right at the beginning because a lot of our crowd, if they've watched the movie and they've watched the docuseries, will know that Estas is the protagonist in the movie. But if you've not heard this man's incredible work, then you need to visit the website estastonne.com. You can follow him on Instagram at instagram.com/Estas Tonne. And if you have a Spotify account and you search for Estas Tonne on there, you'll find his most incredible music. So I'm super excited to have you with us tonight, Estas. And if you're wondering what is Time of the Sixth Sun and what's Estas got to do with it, well, we're going to explain that over the next 90 minutes. But it's a movie, and it's an 8-part documentary series that anybody can sign up to watch for free. It's about the evolution of human consciousness, if we had to sort of surmise it in one short sentence. And you're able to sign up to watch that if you go to timeofthesixthsunlaunch.com. You just have to put in your name and your email address, and then we do a launch every single Tuesday. So you'll be able to jump onto the next Tuesday's launch, and we'll send you the links to watch the movie and the 8-part documentary series for free. And it's the whole reason that we're all here together and why we're building this global tribe. So over to you, lovely Nikki.
Oh, so good to have you here, dear brother. So it's very fitting that you're on this show because this is the last one we're going to be doing for this year. We've done 38, Theo, 38 interviews since lockdown. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back sometime early next year. Just keep an eye on our Facebook page for updates. So now, if you haven't already seen it, I posted on our Facebook pages and I think on YouTube, Estas's most recent project, which is Cuban Heart. And it is the most amazing piece of videography. And I mean, I love Buena Vista Social Club, but this, hands down, it's really something else. It's brilliant. So do watch it. And Estas, was this a childhood dream for you? You know, how did that project, Cuban Heart, come about?
I mean, it's not like I can say this was their childhood dream that I couldn't sleep at night without accomplishing it. You know, it's just one of those things that are there, you know. And then, there was this call to Cuba for a long time, and then Gedris and I, we kept on kind of bouncing this idea. And then just before going to Cuba, everywhere would go, I see some advert somewhere, or you go someplace, there would be something saying literally Havana calling or something like that, you know. So it was like so obvious it's time actually to go and do. And we didn't have any plan. We didn't know anybody. We just jumped, and then few people connected, and few people helped to connect more people to it, and it happened. So in a way, it is a kind of childhood dream, because I used to play this piece of a song that you call Cuban dance. You know, every child in the Soviet Union music school, a guitar playing faculty, you know, they would be playing this little piece, right? So this was the only thing I remembered when I started to play. After many years, I didn't touch the guitar, you know. So in a way, that was really holy for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Back to the source. So we've been on quite a journey with the film, Estes. I didn't even know when I met you that I was even looking for a protagonist. Everything has been just in that moment with you. And so my first time was when I saw you absolutely enchant an audience at Zoo Studios, the venue near Brighton. And I knew that you were the one who would be able to hold, what should I say, the gravitas of the wisdom the speakers had imparted to us. So I'm so happy I made that choice. And a week later, I accompanied you on a tour to Europe for 5 or 6 weeks. And the script was never tightly scripted. So what came through was what came through in the moment, in spirit. And it was an act of truth, wasn't it, that guided both of us in trust of that.
I mean, we know what we went through, right? It's like what's been there behind the scene and the improvisation of every moment and trust to it, and tears as well sometimes, because it's all of it, and it's been truly incredible experience. You remember that first time when you came to Brighton, I was playing on the street and you said, we have to talk. And I said, I have to go play. I need to make a living. He's like, no, please, we need to talk. I'm like, I need to go play. I was trying to go play, and there was a constant ongoing rain, pouring, not possible to play. And then Luna, Nikki, she said, like, don't you see? Maybe it's time for us to go and have a coffee. It was obvious, So in a way, it's not that Estas is the one who is holding certain space. It's not that you've been enchanted by Estas. This is more than just a personality. This is what I've seen in thousands of performances. Thousands. It's not about the stars, but many, of course, mistaking it for a stars. They taking it personally. They think they have to deal with the stars, but it's not about the stars. This is something more to it. And maybe we could open that up a little bit.
Yeah, well, later we'll do that. It's something that's within all of us, isn't it?
But as a star, of course, as a stars, I've been deeply honored since the day one to join this caravan. And, it's been an incredible journey for me, actually, over all these years. This has been like about a decade already, that rock and rolling together. Right?
Yeah. So when we met, you had been on the road, I think, for about 10 years then, gigging and street busking in particular,
right.
All over Europe.
Not on yes, of course.
Yeah. And then you made this leap from street busker to playing the big concert venues all over Europe. And in 2018, on your Breath of Sound tour, you and your creative team eventually went to, I think you did 24 concerts in 46 days. That's like one day in between. And you'd already been on tour, I believe, for about a month before that in Europe. So that must, that sort of touring must be really exhausting with all that travel. So how does your, you and the crew, how does your body cope with that amount of playing?
Difficult, of course. This is not easy. In the same time, as soon as this little body steps on the stage, all of that doesn't matter, because that's quite a reference point for me of the purest, most authentic, clearest space to breathe this life. Everything else, with all of the distortions and challenges and personality clashes, these belong to this other kind of worldly life that we have to go through. I would see many musicians doing way more than those 20-something in 40-something days. It's incredible. There are some people playing every single day, but for me to step on that stage, knowing certain things, of course, I do know, and yet being in complete trust to what will unfold every time, to what would be said, to what would be played, how it would be played, through what dynamic, in what unfolding of a storyline, which is kind of like a mystery every time, even though I know the story, but the story unfolds every time completely different, right? Within that kind of format of a story.
Yeah.
So it requires a little bit of more energy to all of it, and because it's not a concert anymore when there's, you have a set list, you get on stage, you play certain songs the same way as they are, and then you roll to the next concert and you say the same things and you play the same songs the same way as they are, like a lot of people doing, and which is fine. This is their practice, my practice being something else. Definitely not easy, yet incredible, and great, how would I say, now when we are off touring, when we talk, when we speak between us, the boys and the girls, whoever is within this creative caravan, we do appreciate that time more, of course, and that's what I just said to Leon, to the sound engineer, a few days ago, that imagine how people arrive to the end of their life and they would say, oh, there was such a beautiful time and I didn't appreciate that, And even though we do appreciate that, still at times, often, we miss out little things. We still do. It's impossible to be constantly aware of every detail that is going around. It's incredible journey, but everyone has their own shadows to deal with.
Yeah.
So am I, for sure.
Estas, because when you hear of your story that Luna met you on the street when you didn't want to talk to her because you were trying to earn from playing music in the street and from selling CDs and from people gifting you donations and things, to then go through to in the past 4 years having major concert tour every single year. I mean, it's been an incredible sort of transition to witness. I mean, is that a realization of a dream for you, or did you just always have a knowing that this might be what would happen?
I think there might be some sort of dreams to it, which of course developed over the time, but it's never been my dream as a kid to be playing guitar on the big stage and to be recognized and to be loved and appreciated and applauded to and selling millions of records. This was never my dream. It's still not my dream. This is not my dream. I'm just a kid who one day saw a different colors. And he started to wonder, what are those colors? It's like this story that we co-created with lots of people in Goa many, many years ago, right? There was a story about the guy who wakes up in the gray world and he sees the color. This was like from there. This is what I've seen in 1996. I couldn't even explain what I've seen, So this ongoing evolution of whoever this Estas is. At that time, I didn't have a name Estas. It was Stas. And then this one letter appeared. And then I felt like, wow, this is me. This is Estas. So it's kind of like an ongoing dream, which doesn't have a dream particularly. I think every kid's dream is to have a beautiful playground to play with others and to play with yourself and play and share and run around and do crazy things and inspire and be inspired, and sometimes have confrontations. But it's just this. It's not about to be loved or appreciated or placed on the pedestal or this was never my dream. I wanted to make films. When I went to New York, I was writing a diary already at that time for a few years. And my dream at that time, so to say, was to kind of like making stories, visual stories. When I was a kid, my dream was to be a football player, actually. This was my dream. Like those kids that I grew up with, 30 or something years later, some of these kids are still in my life. We are still kids, and when we speak, of course, they remember this little one was running with the football in his hands and like beating the wall with both feet, trying to balance them out. So the left would be equal to the right. This was my dream.
It's still been beautiful, though, to watch you make that transition from years of busking and then the recording studios and then finally to do this tour and that beautiful last project. It's certainly not going to be the last amazing thing you're going to do. So this character, this gypsy troubadour character, in the early days, what inspired that? I mean, I know that you loved Zorba the Greek. You watched it many times.
This was later. The Zorba came in later.
Okay.
I can say actually what inspired at that time. I mean, I've been fascinated by the Romani culture since years, right? And of course, when I started to play, as I've done on the streets, it was a rebel it was like the guy who sits on the street and watching people passing by, you know. And people go from office to office, go there. Sometimes they stop, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they give you coins, sometimes they buy CD. But he keeps on playing. So he's sitting in one location, in one position, even though location could be different. But he would watch the phenomenon of life around and observe that, you know. And then because he was not really against the stream, but he was not part of that whole sleepwalk in a way. He had his own sleepwalking in other aspects, you know, because we're all developing never endingly. But in other way, he was completely out of all of that rat race. Even though he needed to survive, even though he didn't have a bank account, he didn't have any account anywhere, actually. He didn't even have a legal status in the country, you know. And it was always a bit kind of like watching out, taking care, you know, but also moving around constantly, you know, and appearing in different places. And in a way, that was probably the nearest to the romanticized Romani culture, which I and I respect and I deeply appreciate of many colors, because that culture gave us like dance, it gave us flamenco, it gave us like us to humans, you know, there's like poetry and inspiration to countless poets and composers to write music and create stories about. And though this culture been persecuted for centuries, you know, it's been persecuted, it's been burned, it's been placed in camps even today, you know. So it's actually not many people are speaking. It's the culture that doesn't have a land to come back to, as let's say Jewish people, they have a land to go back to because there is a holy book. To Romani people, to Gypsy people, because it's not Gypsy people. Gyp in English, you know, it's quite a funny word. It's not really appreciated by Romani people. But at that time, for me, it was just like this word, because if you say this word, people comprehend that, especially in the United States, because normally I would go even to the shop and I would say, can I get the Gypsy price? And they would look at me and say, what is the Gypsy price? It's like, well, you know, maybe we can speak about that, you know, and then they would lower me the price. When I arrived in Europe and I said, like, can I get the Gypsy price? They looked at me quite negative lenses, you know, because this word doesn't have a good connotation, you know.
And in Europe, you took us down to where the Romani gypsies do their pilgrimage to every year.
To San Maria della Mela, yeah. You and I went there. It was such a wow, what an experience, what a honor also to be able to enter to that place, you know, and actually play there. It's not part of the film, but it was quite a special moment.
Yeah, we had a lot of special moments, so I might release some of those later, actually.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. So just to conclude, sorry I just want to kind of make a conclusion to this culture, because I met a real, so to say, real gypsies, you know, like a Romani blooded, even though I feel like it's somewhere in my DNA present big time as well. But I met incredible ones, really open ones, mega talented ones as artists, you know, but I also met tricky ones. And this was the misconception of many villagers, because I read about this. There are some books about this culture. And they were telling stories where, let's say, there would be caravan of artists would come around. And then the caravan after them would be the tricksters coming in. So the artists, let's say, they do their thing, and then the trickster coming in, and they kind of taking and stealing things around, you know, even though sometimes they would say, hey, we have children to feed, you know, which also true, also could be understandable. But then when the artists come around again, then everybody would be in suspicion to them, you know. So it's an incredible culture that inspired humanity in so many amazing ways. And I feel like it's maybe at times not really truly appreciated by many, and not very understood by many cultures, you know. So it's quite a tightly closed community, and it's difficult to really read those people who really closed, because there are reasons for that. It's a survival, big time, even today. You know?
Yeah, they've had a raw deal for sure.
So just kind of wanted to share that, because it's quite an important part
Really
of my life. It has been an inspiration, and I started to play guitar because of one of them, because of because of Django Reinhardt. I've heard Django Reinhardt. It activated me. I wanted to play guitar again. I didn't play decade at that time. When I heard Django, I wanted to play guitar, but not the jazz. So I was exploring, and I'm still exploring.
And Django was a gypsy roots?
Well, he was a Belgium Romani, because there are many tribes of them. So gypsy is like an English word, which there is a legend that they are called gypsies because of kind of people were calling him Egyptians, actually, when they appeared in Europe. It's a legend. Nobody really knows. There are legends connected to DNA, which is connected to India, of course, obviously. Yeah. But there are Irish gypsies, and there's like also French, and there are Dutch, and there are German, and there are Romanians and Hungarians, and it's a deep culture that's spread out all over Europe and all over the world. And of course, flamenco, where it comes as well. This is where it is, even though I don't play it, but I love it because it's an authentic form of tradition and culture and roots. Incredible one.
And your original inspiration was your guitar teacher. Tell us about that time when you were learning guitar.
Actually, it's not like that he was my original inspiration. This was a gentle soul whom, regardless to my laziness, absolute laziness as a kid, still having such an incredible patience for every meeting, for every so-called mistake I've done, and he left his body in, it's going to be 2 years in this coming winter. And I met him frequently every time I would go to Ukraine. So either I would go to hometown, but it was just one time I've seen him in my hometown. And then he normally would come to Kiev or Odessa, where our tour would be passing through as well. And we would just sit and talk, and after many years, and then it's like, what can I say to him at that time? This man knew me since I was 8 years old. It's like, yes, I can be philosopher, I can be this troubadour, I can be anybody, but
well, he gave you the basic foundation, didn't he?
Absolutely. Not just this, because when I was asking him, Sergei Borisovich, I always would call him in a respectful way, as in Russian language we have this particular way to speak to older people with a slightly more respectful way, and I kept that somehow in me, always with him. It's always been like that. I never called him just by his first name, so I asked him, when I would go to your class, and I had about 2 classes a day for about 6 years. And then on the 6th year, just before we left Ukraine, Soviet Union at that time, I would go 3 or 4 times. So it's really was a long ride with him, And I asked him, how come that you've seen me being lazy, not practicing at home, and still coming back to the class, and you knew that I didn't do anything. He said, of course I knew. I said, why didn't you tell me anything? He said, because I couldn't push the kid to do something that was not really in his passion. That's why he told me, that's why I always love to look for you for piezas, for these pieces that were world oriented, because you love the football. And I knew every country, I knew all the cities. If there was a football club, I knew who was playing at that football club. I knew what year this country or that country became world champion or European champion, and whom was the superstar. I knew all of this data.
I didn't know that about you.
I found this little notebook. This notebook is from 1988. I was 13 years old. I was counting here how many goals I scored in a class as a kid, or for the school, or in a professional team when I was playing as a kid until 15. So like I had all the players. I had like who scored the goal. When did I score my 100th goal of my football career? I just.
Oh, you're such a cutie.
So this would find like pieces of music that were like world oriented. So they were like Brazilian dance, Argentinian tango. It was like Arabic dance, and it was a Jewish dance. It was like a Cuban dance. It was like all kind of dance, Hungarian dance, So he would always find this something that I was aligned with. Because these pieces I really loved, Spanish dance. I really love that. So he would really find for my program, these kind of things. And I think this was the foundation, and not just the music that he was like introducing me to, but the love for it, and absolute patience, which even today, not always I have. I cannot believe how much patience this man, this sweetest man, had. It's always with me. He's always with me, no matter what. We always say that we remember people who left this world, and I feel like he is inseparable part of what I do, what I create, even though he came from a completely different background as a musician. Absolutely background.
There's another photo where you've got your head on his shoulder, and for me that just shows your absolute gratitude for him. I don't know if you've got that one, Teo. I was reading in your personal story that gratitude is so important, but especially for family and the support you had of your family and all your family connections. And despite whether you were saying those relationships were good or were bad, they were the foundation of the development of your character. And I love that. I really appreciated reading that again as a reminder, really,
For everyone, isn't it?
For everyone. Really important. So you have a 2020 vision tour, and that obviously, for obvious reasons, you've had to shift that to 2021. And so this time of sacred seclusion, Stasi, has been a time, an internal journey, a tour within Estas Tonne, may you say. And so when we spoke, you were telling me about how you were sort of unpicking the weave of your life, which is why I called this talk that, releasing old belief systems. But it's such a fascinating story about how you went about that. So I'd just like to give you the time and space, maybe starting with telling us about your grandfather.
My grandfather, oof.
Yeah, well, the recordings.
Teacher, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how would I put it together? I always had this fascination with recording things since I was a very young child. Recording things, not just recording things, but also writing things down and documenting things and capturing things, So, I mean, life goes on. Sometimes we don't really remember where things come from, and then you're like, wow, this is where it's coming from, right? So I have recordings of little Estasito playing when he's like 15, when he's 12, audio recordings, yeah. And then I have conversations between my parents when I'm 1 year old, when I'm 7 years old, when I'm 15 years old. And then later on, I've been recording it myself. But at that time, that was my grandfather who was recording things, and he was kind of like an engineer. So he could record telephone conversations. He had a special cable. We're talking about old school telephone. So he needed to have a special device. I mean, we're talking about Soviet Union. You had to be mega innovator to create certain electronic devices so it's like working, because it's not like you go to the shop and buy it. No.
No.
So he was recording things already then, and because of that, I have this material. And because I have this material, you know, in 2019, when we finished the tour in Istanbul, I've been feeling the urge to stay with myself for a long time. This was not the first year. And I didn't really understand what exactly is calling me, apart from I've seen the creative work in it. I've seen things that brought pain to myself as well as to others through my interaction with them. Though, of course, it's a mutual, always mutual learning for everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget and we put the finger at somebody saying, because of you, which is never the right way. It could be for the beginning. And then when we start discovering and exploring ourselves, then we understand this has way deeper meaning. So when I had this urge to stay with myself, and imagine, like, I've been going through countless countries for almost 2 decades, you know, and yes, half of it was the street, you know, where I was completely like a little boat in the sea, in the ocean. And sometimes there were some invitations, sometimes there were little concerts, sometimes there could be like a festival on the way, which I just been passing through, you know, but it was nothing organized. I never knew where I will be, how I will be, nothing. It was a complete like open ocean. And then I met a dear friend who, you know, Fiona, you know, she started to organize some things, smaller things and a little bigger things. At some point, it was quite already too much for her, you know. And so then when Misha stepped in and he started to organize, when everything became bigger and bigger, you know. But through all the years, I still had this feeling, I need to go through my database, through my recorded material. But I didn't have an access yet to the material of the child because it was in my parents' house. So when I went there, I took some old tapes, you know, this like old round, old school tapes. I bought the device, which now it's a rare thing, but you still can buy it on eBay. So I bought this and I transferred the tapes where I could hear conversations between my parents. I could hear later on conversations between them and my grandfather. I could hear conversations of myself having excitement recording other like relatives, you know, 7 years old, and he's mega excited because he's using the technology of his grandpapa, you know. So these conversations, they are like something that we call like Akashic records, you know, because Akashic records we can get through meditation. So there are some people, they are more open and they're more in tune and they can facilitate those that cannot get there by themselves.
Yeah.
Even though it could be available to everyone, but for a reason, it's not open to everyone. There is a reason for it. So I'm one of those who is the brainy one also. I'm not just all this super mega flying guy, you know, I'm also super brainy and, you know, I'm getting lost sometimes there as well, like many of us. So when I've been going through the recordings, I could understand the relationships of my ancestors, my parents, myself. And even though in my family, there was never physical violence, never, ever. There was never that chance that my father would beat my mother or that my father would beat me or my mother would touch me. Ever, never. It was never a case. But the violence could be a different kind. It's more of a passive violence, you know, and this passive violence sometimes could be even stronger, like work to do about at some point in life, because it's not as obvious, you know. And if we don't understand that, if we don't understand what we are dealing with, we would be kind of like expressing it to other people, and what they would be reflecting to us, another kind of violence that would generate another kind of violence that comes through us. And, you know, I come from a mega violent environment. because I grew up in the streets. We arrived to Israel when I was 15. From 15 till 26, I have seen like a street life, and this was not a fluffy, a juicy, mushy, pussy life. It was a hardcore, because you have to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you fall, sometimes you lose, sometimes you beat the shit out of somebody because you have to stand up for yourself. That's the mentality at that time, As a kid, as a teenager, there was no other way at that environment, just no other way. So, of course, that influenced some other aspects of the violence. And then what happened? Apart from the recordings and the written material, because I've been writing a diary for about 20 years, I have it. This is a lifetime, I don't need to read everything. I don't need to explore everything. I don't need to relive every experience also. But I have seen repetitions. And when I seen repetitions, that was my entrance to the dark forest. I cannot say that I resolved everything. I've done countless ceremonies with myself, going to the forest here. I've been given a beautiful little house with a cat somewhere in Austria, and this has been my kind of refugee place because I could stay with myself for many, many months, even before the corona started. I'm sitting here more or less since May 2019. I've done few travels, but almost a year I'm sitting here without traveling since November, not traveling, But I travel all over the place because of these recordings and because of the current day. Because when we go through the Akashic, so to say, library, I call it library of time, because one day I could be in conversation with Luna in 2011, driving through France,
You recorded that?
If you like, I can share with you some.
No.
But of course, I didn't record everything. This is not necessary. This is not possible. For me, it was always interesting to capture a really fascinating conversation, a really great creative idea. This was what I was capturing. I was not capturing to sneak after people. I was capturing creative incredibleness of life, of these meetings all over the place, in Cuba, in Brazil, and with this person and this person, with some known person and completely unknown person, and because it's not known or not known, it's life speaks, So when I started to see repetitions, and then because I've been traveling for so many different places over these months, I've seen certain patterns of behavior. And, I never had a guru. I never had a teacher that would kind of guide me through spiritual things, even though I've had, and her, there was this incredible woman from France. I walked with her a certain time, but there were so many others, everyone was a great teacher. And sometimes there is a teacher comes through Estas as well. So it's always sharing. It's always sharing. But in every interaction, if we're attentive enough, we can see the repetitions of behavior. And then my other search started. I started to study psychology. I started to study self-psychology. I started to study my own behaviors and what's been going on, and actually creating certain boundaries with certain people, because I've seen they also are necessary. Not the walls, but the boundaries. They're very important, because if I say one time, hey, don't throw a stone on my head, this is quite painful, don't do that. And they keep on throwing that stone on my head. Then at some point, I kind of distance myself a little bit more, If I don't have enough of understanding of the moment, then I become aggressive and I want to fight it. If I see through it, then I just distance myself a little bit. And if that person still be throwing stones from kilometer away, why would I go there? So this is also a pattern kind of to stand up for yourself every time. This is what my father, until this day, he does that. If something is irrighteous going on anywhere, especially it has to do with governments, it has to do with bills. If they send you double bill and it's not right, he will go there. This is amazing quality, you know. But not everybody is like that. And also we don't need to have such interactions. It could be differently done. But everyone should take care of their own repetitions. Everyone should see themselves, because if everyone will, then we meet in a very new place, you know.
So when you're saying about repetitions, it's an incredible story. When you're talking about repetitions, it's hearing the same belief patterns spoken by your grandparents and your parents, and then looking for that same thing within you, because there are many people doing that inner work right now, but some people don't get past, oh, I've got to do some inner work. So to hear your story is great.
I mean, I can open up a little bit, because what does it mean to do great work on yourself?
Yeah.
You say to somebody and they say, I mean, what should I do? Should I go and become a slave to somebody else? Or through that enslavement, I would kind of like get through my ego, you know? This could be, this also could be, but this is not about that. You know, it's, if we see ourselves, and it's not like I see everything yet. I am on the path, you know, like all of us, you know, some of us could take few layers more, and some just starting to take them off, you know. Somebody could take way more and almost nakedly walking around. It's normally not, it's actually misunderstood by many. If somebody sees a naked, open person, it's suspicious, you know, it's dangerous. If a person is so open. I remember when I met these brothers in San Francisco, I mean, we met at Burning Man, and both of them were speaking Russian, and they were in US for a long time. When they came to me, you know, and they said, they looked at me straight into the eyes, you know, and they said, hey, you are just like us, in Russian, you know. I was like, I mean, these two boys, they probably, maybe they're gay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're too open. It's weird, you know. And so a bit of a protection came through, like, you know, it's nothing to do with any community. I respect the alternative community, so to say, even though it could be absolutely normal community. But for me, at that moment, it felt a bit weird. They were too open. They were too open. And then 1-2 years later, I became just like them, actually. You know, it is the fact, you know, I became like them. And then, you know, when we go through life and we think like, I've been done with that. And then something happens. And that's where the pattern comes on the surface, where you think you were done with that, but you were not really. Because the roots of it resides in the deepest sea. You know, what is above the sea is the consciousness. What is below, this is the subconsciousness, as they say, right? And this is where the patterns are coming on the surface in the certain meetings. It's not like juicy, pussy, moosey, you know, it's actually could be full-on experience. And this is where hidden, unresolved patterns coming from. So this work, actually, it's about to see that and then also understand, wait a moment, where did I get it from? I mean, did I get it when I was 10 years old? Yes, could be, but it was already there. Did I get it when I was 15? Well, it was already there. If I look at my library, it's there. Okay, what if I look at 7 years old? It was already there, right? And because I have this library, I can look into it. Then I look deeper. Then I hear some incredible people, and, you know, we are blessed to have few of those, like Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. And then I've been listening to this incredible man also. His name is, if somebody wants to explore, Manis Yusri. Incredible what he says, you know, this is the same work. He says that the development happens within 2 years. It's not him saying it. This is like one of his sharing what he does, because there are many are saying it. It's already scientifically proved. So actually, if something happened already age of 2, and you would think, okay, my mother is responsible for that, or my father is responsible for that. If you look deeper, where did they get that from? It comes from grandmother or grandfather, or from both sides. Quite obvious, right? And then where it comes from that side, because I know my family stories and I could see the story. I've been fascinated because I've been trying to find at least 7 generations to understand my lineage, because there is cosmic lineage, but there is the physical DNA blood lineage. So I only 5. I don't know 7. You know, some are blessed to know. And then the more we know, we can understand the development, because this is never ending. This is how we, from generation to generation, passing on pain. Literally.
Yep.
Generation to generation, we are passing on pain.
Yep.
And then something happens within a lineage when somebody sees that. And when one of us sees that, it brings a resolution to all of the line. And then the samsara wheel that never ending, changing its pace, changing its maybe a game completely as well. Could be. I don't know yet. We can talk about this later. Maybe at that moment I wouldn't really want to speak about that anymore.
This beautiful man you talked about, Menus, I'll put him on our Facebook page. I'll make a link to his.
There were 3 Estes, because a lot of people are asking, because obviously you're inspiring. They want to know. So you said Greg Braden. You said
Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza. These are alternative scientists. They are not pop scientists, I would say. Though they do incredible work. They're not the only ones. There are more and more and more. Few days ago, I watched, few days ago, I watched the interview with the Thrive movement creators. You know, I watched the second Thrive movie. It's a mind-blowing, you know. I mean, the time of the sixth sun, it has its own space in this world, because it had and it still has its own actuality. You know, the Thrive guys, they taking it not like on another level. They expand that whole thing. It's all of it connected. There are incredible people living today on this earth. Absolutely incredible, fascinating beings who doing this work. Yeah, all kind of work in every field. You know, because sometimes I go to a doctor and I see that this doctor is not a doctor. He's a businessman. You know? Because being a doctor is a service that's like an absolute oath to serve humanity. It's not a business. It's not about how much money you get. You know, if somebody gets into those shoes, it's the same comes to any profession. If you're a teacher, it's a calling. It's not how much money you will make. You know, if you are after that. So there are still, with all of this, even the police, and we know how much corruption of it. You know, it's. You know, I grew up on the street, so I understood what's going on. We kids, we used heroin because there was nobody on us, in a way. Yes, of course, police after us. But why they were after us? They were not after the dealers. They were after us. Why? It's going on all over the world because it's a way complex situation. Can we say that every policeman is corrupt? Absolutely not. No. There are a lot of amazing, incredible people. Do you remember the movie Serpico?
Yep, Serpico.
One guy, you know, there was this one guy, and there is always this one guy, and there are way more than this one guy in every field, in every profession, in every topic. There are thousands and thousands and thousands today, you know. So it's like, if you're a businessman, go to business. Great. There could be, you know, if you're a businessman, maybe you should not run a country. If you're a businessman, maybe you should sell potatoes, you know. It's like, why it's run by, why he is running a country if he's a businessman?
It's crazy times.
These are crazy times. There was one more you said. Was it Manis Usury?
Yes, I've got the link for it.
It's Manis Usury. I think I said his name correctly. I'm not sure, but I can share the links after, of course.
I'm going to I'll just put it in the comments, and then people got to go Google it themselves. But then at least
I'll put it on our Facebook page, Teo. I've got.
Okay, a lot of people are watching on YouTube. Because we got over 800 people watching us across all the different channels, and if they're watching on YouTube, they won't see it on our Facebook page. So that's why I try and put it in the comments so everybody sees it. Estas, this is amazing what you're talking about, because we've been discussing this. Actually, it's come up so many different times over the 38 talks that we've done. Is how much of our role at this moment in time. It's what my Andean teacher calls, we are the janitor generation. We are the generation that has been born and put onto earth at this time to try and clear up as much karmic stuff so that then it doesn't go on to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that you've gone through this journey and you've had this introspective process, because
I'm on the way, Theo.
Generational trauma are we, every single one of us, carrying that we don't even know about. That is exactly as you said, that's just been passed down in DNA and DNA and DNA.
Right. Never-ending cycle. And that's the thing. It's like it will be ongoing, never-endingly, if one, at least in the family, is starting to look into it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my parents were far away from meditations. We are doing family meditations now. This is, and I do that with them, not because I'm kind of like this, some sort of guru or somebody. I am absolutely not. I'm not Jesus. I'm not guru. I'm not the even gypsy troubadour. I'm not a guitar player. I'm just like everybody else, human in human form, something, life, So it's an important work to do with also with our parents. There are many having issues with their parents. Many, countless people having issues with their parents. Guys, with all of the spirituality, very often we see that, right? People wearing white clothes and they super duperly speaking about some spirituality, but they don't talk with their mother for 20 years or their father, This is like, yes, there could be difficulties. Some situations, they beyond forgiveness. Sometimes we think so, but sometimes we don't need to meet with the other to resolve things, even though I'm always trying to a certain degree. What I see, it's actually not working, because sometimes it's good to do it in a distance also, So it's part of this work, it's at least to see that, because we would be speaking with whom? When we have a confrontation as grown-ups, who we are confronting, actually? We think we are confronting a husband or wife or man or woman, or we are confronting our mother and our father and our grandmother, our grandfather. Those people who have seen us with the little cute asses and the pink little fingers. Those people have seen us coming from a womb like this little something, and we are growing up, and then slowly we build the walls between us, because we think that we are this or that or this or that. It was a moment when I was in States. I didn't see my parents for about 6 years. I didn't meet them physically. We were in contact, but I was on my own crazy journey. They didn't interfere in my journey. They let me journey, And then one day when I arrived for my father's 70th birthday, 60, that was 60s. And I've seen they shrunk a little bit. They became a little smaller, And this is where slowly I unconsciously started to kind of like change the roles with them, kind of becoming their parent in a way, which is not right. This will never happen until this lifetime. We are always their children, always. So how do we continue in these new relationships? Because I'm always their baby. I will be always their baby.
Yeah.
And how we continue, how we discuss things, and also about the food. And my papa is cooking vegetarian dishes now, which is quite amazing thing to watch. Papa cooking, not even mama. So it's again, it's everywhere. Every family is different, and the relationships we have with our parents are different. It's not about that everyone would have, because these are exactly the patterns we have to look into. The relationship with them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we take this relationship out of that circle and taking it to the world, right? And reproduce and repeat these patterns until we see it.
Yeah.
Until we see it. And
when you do see it from the work that you've done, because a lot of people are asking this question, how do you then deal with it?
I didn't completely shut down myself here, which means like I've been in contact globally. I have a lot of people in my life, and I'm in many people's lives. Hello, everybody who hears me in many countries. There are a lot of incredible beloved hearts, and also a lot of maybe not as many the challenging ones. Hello, the challenging ones. I'm sure you're also here tonight present, because you would be curiously saying and watching, and speaking to yourself. And I appreciate these connections too, because these are the potentialities for us to look at ourselves every time. Sometimes it's not possible to resolve certain things. So on another round, it's another potential. Not on the second round, on the third round. Like we are like athletes. We're running, the football field. This is what I would do when I was like 12, 13 years old. We would run like about 10 big stadium circles in the winter. So it's like you run, and then it's another possibility to meet. Maybe not yet, or maybe, but it's not about us resolving. It's about seeing it in oneself.
Yeah.
Traveling through different situations, maybe writing down patterns. Writing down, of course, not everybody is crazy as Stas, and recording and having diaries and having written material and photographs. And, I'm a bit cuckoo about that.
I think that's crazy. I think it's beautifully insightful at an early age. I would love to have that information.
I mean, the thing is, I just listened recently to Menis, and he was talking to this artist from Romania. You can watch that video. I can give you a link to it.
I'll put it up. Yeah.
I've seen myself in it, because there is this known artist comes to this kind of meeting, and he brings with him like this pile of his artworks and diaries and things. And I'm like, what's gonna come right now? And I look at myself there, right? And basically Manny says that all this creativity that you hold on, you think that you want to share with the world, this creativity. But actually, in these books, there is unresolved trauma that you are carrying. And you're unconsciously carrying it, thinking that you want to help the world to wake up and be open and heal and do this. Actually, you are carrying your own suitcase of unresolved issues. Like my dear friend Eloisa, hello dear, in Brazil, she's a writer. She's a children's book writer. She's published many, many books, and she's a great storyteller. And she, in one of her stories, there is this character, it's the books, and this is like the same, what I've been doing. But even though one day I really want to burn the whole thing, another day I think, wow, no, there is a great potential there. Another day I think, wow, there is a movie, there is 10 movies, there is series. Oh, Netflix, let's do the movie. Wait a moment.
You've been saying that since I met you.
But I also understand it's not about that. It's not about to make another movie or another song to write. And, everything I've done over years, it was my personal experience first of all. Internal Flight, it's not a movie about some sort of story. It's a personal experience. Time of the Sixth Sun, it was our personal experience.
But for me, Time of the Sixth Sun, and you saying that was absolutely my call to my family, if you like, to be heard, because I was just the old hippie that people made fun of. And actually, I wanted them to have a little glimpse into my world. Really, that's what started it, in all honesty.
Yes, sure. I mean, same for me, even though I've never been a hippie. I've never been this or that. When I was in my 20s, I was shaved head wearing Versace costumes, with my bros. Yeah, we were like hardcore at the time, and I like that part of me as well, because without that part of me, I would never be able to go through all of Mexico and play all over Mexico on the streets without knowing anybody, and playing countless countries. So that personaje, that character really was there also to support and protect and be there. But sometimes that same character would destroy also beautiful relationships, which now I can see, and now I can I see my part of it for sure, even though I've seen it, always I've seen it, but when you stay with yourself for a long time, And you look into your own mirror. And I've done it not just for this last year or two, I've done it for many years. It's an incredible potential for embrace all of it, because without this, it's like without these beautiful scars, how can we say, hey, we don't want war anymore on this planet? How can you say that if you never knew what it is?
Yeah.
If you never knew what the destructive relationships are, if you didn't know violence, how would you know how the peace is supposed to look like? That's the opposites. That's the dance of the good and bad, the man and woman, dark and light. We need to know both, so we can kind of like embrace all of it. And because we are all of it, it's not just the fluffy, beautiful things wearing white clothes. It could be sometimes the silent man sitting in the back of a room saying no word, but he's the master.
Absolutely right. Beautifully shared, Stasi. So I'm intrigued by your grandfather recording everything, you recording everything. So do you have spies in your ancestry, or, I mean, seriously, is there something that goes back that you can track that back to? I
think I'm fully on with Manos, with this beautiful psychologist. Beautiful man who also have seen all kind of shades of life. He has fascinating story also. Maybe you guys read about him and listen to what he says on YouTube.
Yeah, I have.
Is he the guy with the essence process?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Essenceprocess.com. I found him.
It's beautiful.
This is not like, I found him only a few weeks ago. And the thing is, when I've heard it first time, I understood that all of the work I've been doing so far for this last 9 months, at least, deeply, I've been doing it for years, but deeply, this was the same thing, what he speaks about. So when I've heard this, like, oh my goodness, I mean, I would love to meet this man. I would love maybe to go through that process, but I am already through this process on my own. To say fully on my own, not really, because I have reflectors in many countries. I had very difficult relationship many years ago with a beautiful woman, but she also came from a traumatic background, and me too, because I had the street life and I had also some sort of unresolved aggression, passive aggression that came through my family line. And then we exploded, two of us. We were like grand reflectors to each other. We almost destroyed each other physically also, both of us, as I did to her, as she did it to me. It was probably the most challenging relationships of my life, but the most heart-cracking ones as well, because after this, it took me on another level of cleaning and purification. So it took her as well. So when I've heard these words from Menis, it was like, man, this is like everyone's story. Everyone
He's so gentle as well, how he delivers that truth. Beautiful.
Everyone goes through that.
I would just like to say to everyone that the recording Estas did of me, he came to me one day way after we had done the tour, and he said, I've got to play you this recording. It's fantastic. And he starts playing and it's silent. And then suddenly there's this... And he recorded me snoring. And then I said, and then he said, no, you've got to wait. He said, the good bit, the really good bit's coming. You're so naughty. Anyway, that's
again, it's not like I publish these things. It's not like I go out and like sneaking around or selling the data. No, this is the creative process. As well. Watch out, watch out. But, oh my goodness.
Hello. Do you remember this one?
Hello.
This is your Trudy.
This is what being a kid is, these are the guys, I have these toys since I was like 5 years old. I have them around. And this is not, of course, it's not like I play with these toys nowadays, but I appreciate it. And then one day I was sitting in front of them and I asked them, hey, what's your purpose to be here? And I sit and listen. It's just like, what's going to come right now? I mean, some would say, oh, this crazy guy talking to the fluffy toys, who are like 40 years old, And I sit and listen what comes through that silent space. And you know what came? We are here to be the joy, to give joy, to be joy. That's all. That's all.
It's all.
Nothing else. Nothing else. No.
Come on, Teo, where's yours?
Not in here anyway.
You know, okay, wait. Let's go back to the grandpapa.
I missed the email. I missed the email where I was told to get my toy from my childhood ready for our StreamYard.
You know, just to close the topic with the grandfather, because I think he was unconsciously doing the same thing what I was doing, even though I was more like using it for creativity. Because, you know, let's say everybody knows the Golden Dragon song, right?
Yeah.
But I have recordings where the Dragon song came from, when, and how it was developing. You know, every piece that is recorded has a story, where it came from, where it appeared, what I was going through. You know, so it's I mean, do I need to use all of it? I don't know, but was like, for me, it was the creative process. I operate that way, you know. But again, I agree with Menis. He was saying that it's unresolved trauma you're carrying, and I would say that my grandfather was probably also doing that, even though you would think, you know, it's like I hear his voice. He's not in his body since 1989. This was the first person kind of I've seen who died. And I received the audio postcard from 1976 when I was 1 year old. His voice saying, "My dear ones, one day you will hear my voice, and this is probably the best thing I can leave you as a memory about us," you know. And really hearing these words, and then I hear talk of grandmama who passed when I was 2 years old. You know, I never seen her. I never heard her voice being a man, you know. And there I could understand a lot of family stories. Everyone has a family story. Everyone has entanglements which needs to be untangled. That's why the shamanic practices are there. That's why the ayahuasca are there. That's why mushrooms are there to facilitate that. That's why meditation centers worldwide are there. That's why yoga practices are there, breath work practices, all kind of practices today of any kind of field is available for us to go through that purification process. Because that's where we clean up ourselves, we clean up the whole lineage, you know. So grandpapa at that time unconsciously was doing that in his mind. He was trying to kind of like give a beautiful postcard. But what was going on in his subconscious, I understand only now. He was carrying his own thing, you know. And I also know from my family line stories that he was repeating the same pattern towards my mother, what he received from his mother.
Yeah.
You know, and this happens in every family.
Yep.
You know, every family. So at least someone in the family has to look at it, at least see it, and then say, okay, let me go into that forest. There are repetitions. I've seen it already through my life. Let me walk into the forest of this subconscious mind, you know, but without the terminology of it. Let me just look at repetitions. What are my patterns? Let me make a list of them. Yep. Let me see through every person I met. I had this same behavior that comes around. Let me look into it. You know, and then appearing, some psychologist appears, another person appears, this beautiful person appears, and they will be facilitating, like these angels appearing to try to purify that. Everyone, you know, everyone going through it. But we just need to say, okay, I do that. It's not fucking easy trip at all. No.
And interesting in the film, you know, that was what naturally came, but you were going through that journey for real in the film also. It was very beautiful to watch.
That's why I'm so fascinated with the film, because it was my life story, you know. Yeah. If I'm not just making a film about the guy who is going through some sort of a trip. No, I'm on the trip already. Yeah. You know, the film came also as kind of like an empowerment and a documenting that, but it's not just my trip. It was also your trip. You remember when we went through You might remember that actually interesting moment, because I've been practicing kind of observing the calendar of Maya, but more modern version of it, called the Dream Spell calendar.
Yeah.
So one of my brothers introduced me to this in 2003, and I've been intrigued. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on it for many, many years. And there you see also repetitions, yeah, because it's all cyclical. So when we met, you and I met, and you said, I'm making the film called Time of the Sixth Sun. And I was like, let me have a look. Who are you in the Mayan calendar, in the Dream Spell calendar? Because some Mayan elders, they don't accept it, even though it's an awesome tool. It's just a great, great tool. But when we did the reading of it, Luna, Nikki, is actually a sixth sun. I mean, would you figure this thing out? If she
I had no idea.
And then not just this, then we started to do like another kind of reading. So we were looking, okay, who is Estas there? Wow, he's a seventh dragon. Okay. And actually, when we look at 13 days of creation of that wave spell, Luna is on the sixth day. She's a sixth sun. Estas is seventh day. He's a dragon. And it's the same wave spell. It doesn't matter what years we were born and where, but we were in the same wave. And then when we were traveling through France, do you remember these other people we were meeting? They were part of the same wave.
Wow.
It was in Brighton at the dinner party. Everyone was the next day. It was extraordinary.
So, you know, it's like these things are there. It's like sometimes we just need a right instrument to use to look into it.
Yeah.
Do we need to look into all these instruments? No, because there are gene keys. There is human design. There is a Mayan calendar as a Quiche calendar. There is a dream spell calendar. There's many kinds of calendars, you know, because the calendar today we are using is actually Gregorian calendar. Excuse me, but it's a Roman church calendar. We're still using it. Sorry. Come on, really. Nothing to do with nature. Really.
That they kept adding to.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, yes, we can say we don't need it. Okay, we just need to bring these other alternatives. But it's easy for us to navigate. So it's some sort of a language that allows us to agree upon interview on Monday. And we know, all of us, that it's Monday. But if I'll tell you that this day today in a Mayan calendar is this day, if we don't speak the same language, we wouldn't synchronize, right?
Yep.
So somewhere magically we do synchronize, but it's like also these tools, these instruments, they're great helpers, you know, but they're not the ultimate ones who we can be religiously giving ourselves to, you know?
Yeah. Stas, that turning point for you when you were in New York, I just want to ask you, you know, if you had any advice, or maybe not even advice, but something to say to other people who've been as lost as you were lost in those times, what would you say to them in these crazy times that we're living in to inspire them?
In what time you speak about? When you were
one of those points where you had a turning point when you were, I think, given a guitar by someone. But there are many people who are lost in this world. What would you?
That's amazing. You know, I recently went online and I bought a few photos of this incredible photographer. He was a family friend. My parents grew up with him. They all knew each other. I mean, my parents know each other since they were 2 or 3 years old, you know. So this guy was also part of that circle of friends. So they knew. And of course, when he knew I'm coming to New York, he said, oh, please come and work with me. So for 6 months before I received the guitar, I was printing black and white pictures of New York City. Wow. And this guy was going around New York, taking photos, you know, and he basically was taking pictures of Twin Towers. He was taking pictures of beautiful buildings of New York City. There are plenty. As a city, it's a marvelous city, you know. And he basically said, well, if you come here, and I didn't even speak English properly at the time, not that I have a proper English accent today, but it doesn't matter, I can navigate, right? So at that time, he basically invited me to work with him, and I was watching his madness. He was a mad scientist. All his friends were laughing at him because they're saying, hey, you need to get a proper work, or you need to be a taxi driver as an immigrant, you know, in New York. Like a Russian immigrant, what he can do? He can be taxi driver, you know, or he can go to some other things. And he was doing all of that. And then when the 9/11 happened, I arrived there 1 week after because my ticket was canceled for the 13th, 2001. So I arrived to New York 17th of September 2001, with one little bag, with a little bit of money, no language, and nothing what I gonna do, So he took me in, and I had a dream about movies, like everybody waiting for me to be a movie star, But I was printing those pictures, and then this time here, while I'm alone, I kind of wanted to have his energy around. And I went to eBay checking, because he's not in his body anymore also. And I kind of wanted to have few of those photos. And I went on eBay and I found few photographs that were on sale. Somebody bought those pictures from him on the streets, because he had about 25 people on the streets. In 3 months, this guy became millionaire, by the way, because he was sold out every single day. Everybody wanted pictures of Twin Towers. It was a beautiful souvenir to take home, because I feel like it's still a monument of a tragedy which can arrive at certain period in anybody's life, also personally as collectively, and we have to go through it. It doesn't matter conspiracy theories, not conspiracy theories, who did that, what did that. It's a tragedy that touched millions of people, not just in New York City, worldwide, because of the families, because of even, everyone probably remembers that moment, where you were in that moment, if you watch that video.
Everyone.
That, it's something that everyone's heart cracks in that moment. That's what was moment. When I was in Israel and the prime minister was killed, I also remember precise place where I was. It was the same event of that caliber. I'm sure people who experience JFK murder, it was the same. They remember where they were, because it touches humanity on a deeper level. We don't comprehend what it is. It's a history change in that moment forever, So anyway, I went on eBay and I was searching for the pictures, and I've got few pictures. So I want to show you, because first of them, of course, it's simple, because that's just an image of New York. It's John Lennon. This is one of the pictures of Alex Lakin, a beautiful family friend, an incredible photographer who been help to many, many, many people, and amazing artist who not around here, but his pictures are here. And this is the main picture that I wanted to get.
Wow. Yeah.
It has his signature, because I wanted to have it with his signature. And it's just like a monument of life and death. That is all
time,
in every moment. It's not like I want to have it on the pedestal as a past, but without looking into past, without embracing the past, what can we do then? Then we will continue repeating ourselves, as individually, as globally. So at that time in New York, and this was exact time when I spent 1 year. So this time now I'm sitting alone. This is another time I sit 1 year in one place. And last time I've done it, it was in 2001, 2002. We will release an album soon with Michael Schulman, the first album that I ever recorded. It will be released soon with the new updated sound and remix and remaster, which received a completely different quality of sound because of Leon Sound Pro. So that time I was fully alone, even though I had family friends. I had also Michael, we started to play music, and then I had Alex, and I was living with a grandmother. But still, inside myself, I was alone amongst millions of people. And I feel like many, many, many are going through the same thing, especially in these times, especially when they have to sit with themselves, especially when they are not comfortable with themselves. And what happened at that time, a childhood friend who I was staying with, he brought a guitar as a present to my birthday. He kind of thought I will be playing Django Reinhardt music, so he bought me like jazz guitar. And, I played on it for 3 months maybe, and my hands were bleeding and it was not comfortable. Then I bought another instrument with nylon strings. But the thing is, that energy that opened up in that moment, I feel like we don't have to die to re-experience that energy, because that energy is the energy of a child who completely trusts the game. He is in a sand field, he's playing these things. He's fascinated by these things. There could be some things, some guys come and he's like, meh, 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 but he would things, like children do, like all of us did. We just forgot, and that was the energy of the child. He was fascinated with life again. I lost this fascination a few times through this 20 years period, because I got I shut down somewhere. I had a very strong accident that was like a really, come on, little one, come back to yourself. And then I had a very dramatic relationship that was 16 years ago, 15 years ago. And both of us went through some really incredible healing separately. We are not communicating much. One day I will be glad to do that.
Yeah.
But there are also some little challenging situations which been happening. Sometimes they're also kind of like, if I don't see, I just close. And if I have so much to deal with, it's not possible to really catch that moment,
Yeah.
But again, this fascination being in the playground, and it doesn't matter what it is. For somebody, it became a guitar. For somebody, over this lockdown, it became drawing. For somebody, it became cooking. I never cooked for myself ever. Now I've been doing that, for this now the last 9 months at least, but even more so, when I'm alone here. And it doesn't matter what it is, but it's like when we say, like the kids and the grandparents, they can really meet, fine, right?
Yep.
Why so? Why the parents and children, they very often cannot meet? There's more confrontation, there is more sabotage, there is more right? But grandparents and children, they're more alike.
Yeah.
We have to wait until we all become like this grandpapas and mamas, or we can reactivate that fascination through something we placed aside for a very long time, for something that we neglected for a very long time, for something that been calling our attention for very, 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 very long time. Yeah.
So find your joy, find your passion, that little thing.
I'm not sure if it's about to finding it. It's always there. It's just we are not there.
Yeah.
We are somewhere else.
Yeah.
Busy, distracted, doing. Yeah.
Yes, me too, of course, for sure.
Have you got your guitar with you? Do you feel like playing something? Maybe we can take some questions as well. I don't know if you've got any questions, Tev.
If you don't have any questions, then I would play just to do closure. But if you do have something to put through words, I don't have to speak. I have a Zen master here. He can just.
If I'm honest, I couldn't keep up with the questions because I'm getting the feeds of Facebook group, Facebook page, YouTube, all at the same time. But
you choose
saying, please play something.
Three, just to honor at least a little bit of.
Okay, if you have a question, hit me. Right, put it in the comments right now, and then I'll put it to Estas. And please, if you can, write it in English because I can't speak Russian.
Bob Eden says, "Coffee, anyone?" Every week, coffee, anyone? But I have to say, for Bob, he's in Australia, so it's 5 o'clock in the morning for him or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Celia asked, "Did you teach yourself to play?" But I think Celia must have come late to the talk because you explained about your beautiful guitar teacher.
Maybe I can explain it. I can explain it a little because that's quite a good topic actually. Because
so Celia says, "Did you teach yourself to play, please?"
Yeah. So basically, yes, I've had a teacher when I was a kid, and I've got the formal classical education until I was 15, from age of 8. And then for 11 years, I didn't play. Sometimes I would teach guitar, but I wouldn't consider it playing really. So when I restart playing, it was that kid fascination. It was not about to study many songs and reproduce them. It was not about kind of play some famous songs. It was not about to learn many chords so I can play something, you know. It was about, like, first of all, reconnecting with what I knew. First of all, I had something already there. So I had the Cuban dance, right? The only thing pretty much, right? Because I have a recordings with Michael. We were playing on the street, and then we would finish this 30 minutes Cuban dance, and then we finish, and then people come and they buy CDs, and we speak with them a little, and then they go. And then on the recording you can hear, he says, so what are we gonna play? Well, I think Cuban dance. Yeah. They play Cuban dance, you know, because that was the thing. It was authentic. It was really there because it became something else. It was not anymore that piece of music as was written in the notes. So my fascination became like exploring sometimes one chord for 15 minutes and then changing it to something that felt good. It was not about like how it's supposed to be, how it felt good for me, not how it's normally kind of like accepted, how the songwriting is supposed to be. No formula. It was a pure feeling. It's still a pure feeling. Hopefully I will never lose that again, you know, but I
won't.
I just had that. So that's also a pathway to the forest to explore. Something that feels right. It's one chord and then trying to play another one and then another one and then another one. You know, I cannot teach people to play guitar because I'm not a guitar player. I just play guitar, you know.
I went online the other day and saw a young man, I can't even remember his name, but playing beautifully Golden Dragon. But I made a little note to him and I said, just slow down, because when you hear Estas play that, he's playing it from that place inside, and he doesn't rush. There's as much space as you need when you listen to it. So technically he was really good, but he's just needed to mature.
You know, over the years, I've seen beautiful younger, I would say, musicians. Also not necessarily younger, who were kind of exploring the Golden Dragon. Because why? Golden Dragon became a phenomenon. Actually, one day I will tell the story of this whole song, because it's not about the song. What is behind it?
Story.
You know, and the thing is that I've seen over the years those that are totally lost in it. They try and reproduce that. Every move, I mean, imagine, I've never done that. I've never sat in front of monitor trying to copy Paco de Lucia or Manitas del Plata or Sabicas or Gypsy Kings or anybody, you know. It's like your own exploration. But I listen to Django, I listen to all of those guys. And then you kind of stop listening, you put it aside. It's like in Kung Fu, you learn the path. And then you break that, you shut it down, you forget about it. And then when you forget about it, it becomes something else, your unique move. It becomes something very unique to yourself. That's the point. That's what the yoga is. That's what the Kung Fu is. That's all the martial arts are about. You know, it's the same thing. So I've seen over the years those who are religiously copying it, and I've seen those amazing ones who are finding other way. You know, so I see all kinds, and I wish that those that still kind of in that zone of still studying it, don't forget the real Kung Fu. It's not about studying the moves. It's about forgetting them at some moment and then trying to be your own self, authentically, perfectly, purely, imperfectly also important, super important.
Heart's truth.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, I've got a few things to say at the end, but I think, Teo, anything, or should we just let Estas play a tiny bit?
Let Estas play. I mean, a lot of people are asking, when are you coming to Germany? When are you coming to Romania? But you can find all that information on the estastonne.com website. And people are asking, where are you hiding in the world currently? And Estas did say Austria at the beginning, but we're not giving you any more information than that. So he's enjoying his time hiding in the woods.
No accepted visitors yet. No.
He's not ready for guests yet. Yeah, I think let's just beautiful. If you would play some music for us, I think that would be a treat that none of us were expecting.
Just to say something that Estas is currently working on one of the albums that he's done for us, and that's going to be released sometime when the time is right. Maybe
Yes.
early next year, we'll see. But it's just being remixed at the moment. Beautiful. So we'll keep people updated with that on the website.
It's as timeless as it gets, because it was recorded. The voice of Tobias was recorded 2009, right?
Yep.
The guitar was recorded 2011 or 12.
In the studio, yeah.
Right. For the film, so it never was published, but it was recorded as it was played at that time. Nowadays it's a different story. So, and it's still very accurate as a story. I'm not talking about the guitar playing, not only, but because it's a complementary collaboration between the words and the sound.
Yeah.
And it's been privilege in a way, I would say, an honor as well to walk on this path with you all, guys, and everyone who's been part of it, and also all those that I didn't meet personally. When I met Yakov, at some point we had the talk because we shared the same birthday, and I knew about him through the film, and then we started to follow each other, and then we had the talk actually some months ago, and I've been fascinated what he does. I even had to read his book because he talks about shamanism from a perspective of a man who is not like a born shaman, but who has experiences of a shaman life, true, authentic, absolute, aligned with that tradition. And incredible story. And the way also you read the book, it's also fascinating. So a lot of these people being part of Time of the Sixana kind of family, extended family, and it's been an incredible blessing to walk far lands, near lands, heartlands with all of you.
And we should also say about Jeffrey Hoppy, because
of course
he carries the story of the film. And I was going to get an actor at one stage, and who I had in mind was to play the voice of the collective consciousness was, his name's gone straight out of my head, Ben Kingsley. And then I thought, why would I get an actor to do it when I could go for the real thing, the authentic thing? So that's when I flew out to Colorado to him. So he's a big part of the album.
But what's interesting, and over the years I've seen that some people saying that maybe they have their own kind of how would I say, measuring tools of what truth is, and it's always tricky because we never know through what filter everyone looking at certain event or happening or sharing, right? It's like today, before we started to speak, I've seen somebody already put this, and but we didn't even start talking. There was nothing happening yet. It's already somebody put the finger down. Okay, somebody have an issue. All right, dear people, having an issue. It's all right, But what are you doing then here? I'm wondering, And the thing is like what I wanted to say is that when you hear Tobias, because yes, of course, there is this celestial being and that is channeled through Jeffrey Hoppe, and it's not accepted by everyone. And in a way, it's like everybody is a channel. If you just shut up and listen, it speaks through everyone. What the interpretation would be, it's based on the pure channel that an individual can be at a certain moment. Because we've seen also some people distorting certain information, some people really sharing absolutely authentic information. It's still not received. It's not received by many, right? So in a way, it's not about who is speaking, but what is said there, felt, And I've been working with this material since 2011. I've been blessed to listen to these conversations and these recordings. Timelessness, poetry of life spoken, it doesn't have time, but it's so spot on to this time today. That's what the incredible thing. So it's really important what is said there, how it feels really, you know, and it's not about like it's spoken through channel, it's spoken through guitar playing. It's
It's
how
the
much
messenger, not the message, not the messenger.
yes, yes, of course. But you know, messenger also, we're all humans. We are here. I mean, we are not all humans.
Yeah.
All right, I will maybe just improvise some little momentum. I don't know what will come out. Bear with me because it's not very easy guitar to tune. This guitar lost her head at some point in an accident. It's a dragon guitar, actually made in Mexico by a dear friend. It's an incredible piece of instrument. This is not for kind of playing concerts. It's a kukulkan. It was part of the film also, yeah. But it lost the head. The dragon lost the head at some point, literally. Some friend was fixing it recently, you know, so I can play it, but it's not very tunable so much, but it's still a very sweet instrument. Okay, just to give thanks to this momentum and share a little bit of musica. I was not really in a rush to go into this online streaming thing, and even though, of course, it's possible technically, maybe one day I will do it. I'm still fully standing for the live experience, for live sharing, for live heart-to-heart experience, not the monitor ones. For the monitor ones, there is plenty of things going on, and plenty of recorded data is available. But of course, when it's even through the monitor, we still can feel things, we can explore things. But I don't know, maybe one day I will go online and do like a proper streaming experience. Could be. But for now, it's just like a little thanks for this sharing we did tonight. And thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki, Luna. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, everyone who've been on this boat tonight and taking your time. Thank you for your time. There is this beautiful story recently. This incredible woman from US, she sent me a story about this old man dying, and the only thing he would send to his adopted child, in a way, the child was already a man, and they couldn't meet in the last minute. So this older man sent him a package, and inside the package there was this old clock, old watch, and there was engraved the name of this younger man. And it said just these 3 words. Thank you. I mean, few words, not 3 words. Thank you for your time. Because like for that man, it was obviously very important to have the sharing with that younger man. And it was equally important for the younger man to share with that older man, you know? So it's like time, for some time is money, for some time it's like activity, for some time it's all kind of things, but time could be also a beautiful flower that we share, you know, and that enrich us.
A moment.
Just a moment. There is always a hope, but hope just as an empty word, even though it could be an electrified word, has a potential. Not always enough. You know, we gotta make our steps, not just sit and wait for something falling from the skies. And sometimes, maybe actually, to sit and wait for something to come. Also, it's for everyone to know what everyone needs to do, especially in this kind of time, but in any time, I guess.
Yeah. Nice words. Thank you so much for being in our life, Estas, in so many people's lives. Really appreciate it.
We definitely share that. We share that.
Yeah.
Thank you all also for being. That's why this phrase came some time ago for our little creative family to use these words. Thank you for being.
Yeah.
It is kind of like giving thanks to everyone, you know, whoever and with whomever we experience and explore in life. Sometimes challenging, sometimes not. Like Tobias saying in this CD, you know, we're all taking up different roles. With some, we are family members. With some, we are friends. With some, we are enemies. With some, we are confronting each other because it's a part of the theatrical performance that we are on. And if we are not aware of the theatrical performance that we are on, the theater will go on forever. In every theater, we need the opposing forces so the spectacle can take place. I'm just wondering, what happens? What happens if everyone steps out of a role and just becomes this fascinated kid playing?
Always remain curious.
Mm.
Well, that's sort of why you're going traveling a little bit with your boys, isn't it, Teo? Is to so they still are able to feel that joy.
It's really poignant. And actually, I had this conversation with Nikki last week, and she said because I'm leaving the United Kingdom and I'm heading to the East for about 5 months, and so for me to continue with these lives, I'd be having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do them, and so. But actually, this has been the most beautiful finish for me in this way, because what you said earlier, Estas, about not having time. We've been working on this together now, as you know, for three and a half years. And since we launched in April 2019, it was just crazy long hours, crazy, you know, like months of 19, 20-hour days. And then we did it again last November and now. And I actually said to my wife, if I said to myself the other day, the number of times I've said to my kids, I don't have time for that now because I'm juggling so much of Time of the Sixth Son. I was like, when my father passed in 2005, he said one of the biggest mistakes, one of the biggest regrets he had was not spending enough time with my brother and I when we were kids. And I was like, I took that on as a lesson. And I do have a very good work-life balance. But they're still 8, they're 11. This is the time where I just want to take them to a beach and play on the beach with them and surf with them and just be with them. And my wife, my beautiful beloved, has held space for me to do this and for me and Luna to do this for 3.5 years. And it's now her turn to shine. She's an incredibly gifted musician, and she has her dreams and her aspirations. And she's been an incredible mum to those boys and held space while I've had time to do this. And now it's time for me to repay that favor and step into the full-time dad role so she can do that.
So beautiful.
Awesome. You know, the thing is that if you look at nature, which is one of the greatest teachers, we have seasons, right? There is season for everything. Yeah. There is a season to be fully active, to go on tour, on to do thing, or to publish the book, or to publish the film, and do every possible work to sustain that creation and deliver it, you know. Yeah. But there is also season for something else, and it's like the most beautiful thing that we do. If we get stuck into the scene, I need to keep doing it, then we don't really see things around anymore, you know. And this is really dangerous place, and we know it, Luna. You know, we've been there. It's
really time for just readjusting, taking time, reassessing with our lives as well. So I think it's a really great choice, Teo. Fabulous to support your woman. You know, that's so important.
The gift for me for lockdown was the fact that I had the time to write the software that now means that the movie launches every Tuesday, and then the people can go through that 12-day process on their own without me having to. I mean, I still have to tweak things, but it's not like it was in April and November last year where we were doing those 20 hours a day. No. So the movie will still be there and people will still be able to watch. And what we'll probably do is we've done 38 of these live talks and we can just put them up because most of the people that are joining us have never seen any of those. So we'll play them out again without us having to be here, and you get access again to all that amazing information.
This is actually an awesome way because there is amazing speakers there, amazing people.
Yeah, Charles Eisenstein, amazing interviews. Yeah. So thank you, Teo. I just want to say thank you for making all of that possible, and you know the sacrifices that went with that. It's really beautiful. So 38 shows. Well, I think we've done really well. And thank you also for giving me the confidence, because I've always been strictly behind the camera and I've found myself quite comfortable in this chair now. So I shall be back. I don't know about Teo. I shall be back sometime next year with them. Meanwhile, going to be very interactive with the group on the Facebook page. So yeah. And lastly, big thank you to our tribe, our lovely tribe, for staying with us and supporting us. It's brilliant.
It's been beautiful.
Let me have the last words.
Well, I'm just going to put the link up because because a lot of people watching on YouTube won't even know that Facebook group exists, and that's grown from nothing in October last year to over 28,000 members, today, and we have, and so many different things. And there's going to be a lot of people watching from YouTube to watch Estas that don't know about the movie. So I'm going to put that link up as well so that people can sign up to watch for free at timeofthesixthsunlaunch.com. And Luna, I just want to say, without your drive, your tenacity, your absolute, incredible ability to just go and get what you want and to allow it to happen in the most gracious way, none of us would be here right now. Esther and we would not be having this conversation, and you wouldn't have touched and changed the hearts and minds of hundreds of thousands of people around this planet and made that grow to millions of people around this planet. And the fact that we are now able to offer this for free every single week, and what we could ask you beautiful people to do is just to keep sending people to timeofthesixthsunlaunch.com. Luna always said that this movie and this series was not for people already on the awakening journey. It's actually more for those people that just are so lost and so confused. And the most ingratiating thing for me about this whole process has been the number of emails we receive. Oh, I'm making me well up.
Yeah,
the number of emails we receive from people to say, I was so lost, I was so lonely, and I now finally feel like I've found my tribe. So blessings to every single one of you.
Blessings. Yeah.
absolutely.
And the thing is, if the path is long, and on this path, like, we still can feel lonely sometimes, and we feel lost as well. And this is okay. There will be always reminders all over the place, But again, this is not about the external reminders. This is something that a child can find to be fascinated about. Everyone has, and it's in everyone, and there is a reason for this great challenge that each individual goes through. There is a reason. That's the fruit of the rose, right? Everyone has that, and everyone has a potentiality to come back to again. So thank you. I watched Luna over the years. I've seen this both qualities, also as a woman, and also as a driver, as a man as well, kind of driving this thing forward. You've been doing it for, like, I don't know, 12 years. 12 years. Film was like in making, right? With all of the challenges, with all of the impossibilities, with all of the everything, and still carrying that, being pregnant with that, not just responsibility for it, for so many people being part of it, but also like carrying that potential to be now experienced by people from many, many, many countries, and there are many films, there are many amazing films, there are amazing things. I'm not putting in category Time of the Sucks the only was Time of the Sixth Sun the only one. It's one of them, because also those people live in their own lives, and they exploration of life. So it's like everything complementary itself. There is no competition, and that's the thing. Again, these are great reminders, but the main work is in our own forest. This nobody will do for us. This is the main work, and it's also for everyone to know when it's time to move, like Theo does right now. It's really time to move, and it's time to sit, like I do now. The guy who's been on since decades.
For me, it's time to sleep a lot.
So it's for everyone.
Look after your health, because this, you need to just now be and rest and recuperate and just look after your health, lovely Luna.
For sure.
Finish the book.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much. Love you.
Good night.
Hearts planting seeds.
See you somewhere.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Right.